Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm a former college quarterback and pitcher turned overthinker. On today's episode, the New York Football Giants concluded their 2024 NFL draft of college prospects. We had some big needs at several positions, wide receiver being first and foremost, cornerback, safety, running back, D tackle, tight end. Were we able to fill all those needs? Mostly. So we'll break down each of the picks, take a look at what I would have done differently. Where does the Giants draft rank in terms of all 32 teams in 2024? A day 3 pick that could possibly surprise us. The 10 favorite schemes or fits for teams. I'll explain it later. And then what did our Giants beat writer from The Athletic, Dan Duggan, who was his favorite pick? I'll give you all of my thoughts and more. So without further ado, let us get it started up in here. Let's talk about the Giants in the 2024 NFL Draft. We had a bunch of needs heading into this little selection event. Wide receiver, first and foremost. Corner, I think, in my mind, is the second biggest need. Some were saying safety is like the third biggest need. I didn't see it that way. Some people were saying running back, even though we already have a full fucking stable of running backs. Tight end, another need. Defensive tackle, defensive line, after losing Ashawn and Leo. Offensive line, like just because we signed a couple guys in free agency, does that mean it's a cure-all? Does that mean we're all good to go? We're all set? So were we able to fulfill those needs coming out of the draft? For the most part, yeah. Would I have liked, would I have liked to pick up an offensive lineman? I think so. Would I have liked to pick up a defensive lineman? Yeah, I think so. I'm more confident. I'm less butthurt about not getting that defensive lineman because DJ Davidson has shown flashes here and there. Jordan Riley was big in the preseason, as we talked about, but then didn't really get much, see the field that much during the regular season. So if those two can take the next step, then I think you're less likely to press and sign like a veteran cut post June 1, right? So the defensive line, I have more confidence in than I do the offensive line. Because Runyon goes down, we're back to square one. Illumineur goes down, we're back to square one. It just feels like any of those guys goes down with an injury, we're kind of screwed because the next guy up doesn't necessarily always play that well. So I'm in the camp of I did not want to trade up for a quarterback because I thought people were talking about like luxury tax or quarterback tax. That's all well and good. But the way, I don't think it would make sense at all for us to go mortgage our future to get a quarterback. Caleb Williams, you'd have to give up so goddamn much to get him. The asking price for even the Patriots at 3 was outrageous. To get Drake May, who has a grade of 6.5. It's like, and you're not going to, if we had drafted JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix or Bo Nix at 6, we would have got an F grade, Yeah, his next gen stats are good. 88. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Big kid, strong arm, accurate. I get it, but you just handed the bag to Daniel. And if it, you've invested in Daniel, let's really make an effort to give him everything he needs to succeed. And yeah, you can point to last season where it's like Tyrod and Tommy both outplayed him for certain stretches. But again, they also had the benefit of Saquon and Andrew Thomas, whereas, the offensive line was in absolute shambles for most of Daniel Jones' starts. So we did what I thought we should have done. And what, heading into the draft, my preview, I said, if we select any one of those 3 wide receivers, top 3 wide receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Nabers, or Rome Odunze, I'm happy. That's an A from me, dog. And we ended up going with Malik Nabers. Won't you be my neighbors? 6th pick overall. We didn't have to trade up or down to get him. And some are saying, many are saying, that he could be better than Marvin Harrison Jr., who is widely regarded, throughout most of the college football season as the best wide receiver in the class. This was a deep wide receiver class. So this gets an A grade across the board from most everyone. He personally got a 6.86 grade. So if you're wondering, like, okay, what is this shit? What does that grade mean? I don't know what that means, Neil. So they have these grades on the NFL draft tracker. 8 is the perfect prospect. I don't think I've ever seen that outside of the Jadeveon Clowney. I think it was like some like defensive lineman, defensive edge. 7.3 to 7.5 is a perennial all-pro. Saquon Barkley was a 7.45, I think, or something like that. So never got to all-pro. Injuries and a shitty offensive line will do that to you. 7.0 to 7.1 is Pro Bowl talent. Fun fact, Sam Darnold was like a 7. He hasn't made the Pro Bowl yet. Still pulling for him, though. Hopefully he can get rid of all those ghosts he's seeing. 6.7 to 6.9 is a year 1 starter. 6.5 to 6.6 is boom or bust potential, which is just I still to this day will never understand that definition. 6.4 to 6.49 is will become good starter within 2 years. 6.3 to 6.39 will eventually be a plus starter. 6.2 to 6.29 will eventually be an average starter. 6.1 to 6.19, good backup with the potential to develop into a starter. 6 to 6.09, traits or talent to be above average backup. 5.8 to 5.99, average backup or special teamer. 5.6 to 5.69, candidate for bottom of roster or practice squad. 5.5 to 5.59, priority undrafted free agent. So, when we're looking at these picks, we're going to be looking at that grade, but also looking at the next gen stats draft model, which ranks players in, I guess it's like production score, athleticism score, and then total score, where the prospects rank amongst the, their position and the numbers. So this is how they're defining it. This analyzes the historical NFL Combine, Pro Day, and college production data to predict a prospect's chances of success in the NFL. The results of the model are transformed into composite scores ranging from 50 to 99, which represent the athleticism, college performance, and overall profile of an NFL prospect. So 50 to 60 is below average, 60 to 70 is average, 70 to 90 is good. Weird that they wouldn't do 70 to 80 good, 80 to 90 great. And then 90 to 100 is quote unquote elite. So I believe, funny enough, the last elite player that we drafted was Kevin Neal. Not Kevin Neal. Oh, Evan Neal. That's the last elite player we drafted. Before that was Saquon. And I want to say that before that was Odell. I don't think that's right, though. Let me see here. Odell Beckham Jr. Nope, 6.4. Will become a good starter within 2 years. So, and he got his next gen stats was 87, which is good. And I would beg to say that he was pretty much elite when he was healthy. So, I mean, there are a bunch of guys that I've come across, prospects that went undrafted that have high grades. But then if you look at their next gen stats, it's like a different story. So it's kind of like taking it all in and saying, okay, which one do we value the most? Is it next gen stats, which I would lean more towards next gen stats than I would this grade. But I'm going to take both into consideration here just for shits and gigs. So he got Malik Nabers, 6.86 grade, the highest grade of all the wide receivers in 2024, higher than Marvin Harrison Jr. His next gen stats total score is 92, which is elite, and that puts him top of the heap. He's the number 1 ranked receiver, college prospect, above Marvin Harrison Jr. His production score was a 96, which was first, and then his athleticism score was an estimated 85, and that's because I guess he didn't do a lot of shit at the combine or participate in the combine, but that puts him like 9th amongst all wide receivers. But I have a feeling if he actually participated and did all his work, that I think he probably is going to come out of in the 90s there. I don't even know how they estimate that. I'm sure there's some kind of algorithm, some formula. Prospects who do not perform drills at the combine or pro day are given an estimated athleticism score based on their size and projected 40 times. So, 85 seems a little low, if I'm being honest. His strengths: has a grab and go acceleration to catch it short and take it long. Hell yeah. Catches off frame balls with strong sudden hands. That is just straight erotic. Premium leaper with contortionist's talent for in-air adjustments on jump balls. Frames up defender to finish contested catches underneath. Good hand fighting and post-up talent to win positioning battles against big corner. Fuck yeah. Which is interesting considering his weaknesses, which we'll get to. Changes speeds inside the route to tilt defenders off the break point. You tilted, son. Glides and burns past defenders deep or pushes them into retreat for easy stop routes, which I freaking love. And there's a comp later on in our analysis of Malik Nabers that you might scoff at. You might roll your eyes. You might say, Neil, get the F out of my house. Get out of my brain. What are you talking about? But I can see it based on that strength alone. The fact that he can blow past you, and if you know that he can blow past you, you are then going to retreat, and then that just frees you up for an easy curl, 15-yard curl or what have you, and then you can make some moves and get some big chunk plays. So, oh, baby. Very happy. I mean, in my preview, I said that Marvin Harrison Jr. is like, if he's there, no brainer. That's the conservative pick, the right pick. He's not overly sexy, but he'll put up consistently good numbers. Roma Dunze was a case of like, well, he's proven himself. He's like, and then Malik Nabers was the sexy, dangerous pick. and we picked him, and I got a fear boner because it was just like, this could go really south really hard, or it's going to be like, this guy is going to be in the Ring of Honor. He's going to put on a gold jacket. Like, I have only good things about him. I mean, you can't help, because he's LSU and OBJ was LSU. We got a lot of like OBJ 2.0 or OB3 comments from a lot of people, but it's not the same. And watching it, I didn't get to watch a lot of LSU football or him in college football, but like I watch him play, and they don't look like the same guy. I'm just really impressed. I mean, and everyone said this, his ability to stop and start is just, I don't understand how the human body can do that shit. Because I can't even stand up quickly. So it is unfathomable, his ability to change direction and speeds that much. I mean, like the highlights that I was seeing, like there was 5-10 yards of separation. And even like they said, on contested catches, like his ability to fight off the defender and make that tough catch when he is covered and doesn't have separation. So his weaknesses, let's get into that. He runs free into big spaces, but needs additional route schooling. So apparently his route running, unlike Marvin Harrison Jr., is not tip-top, not ship shape. He's inconsistent hip sync to snap routes off at crisp angles. Okay. Would benefit from eliminating wasted motion in early phases of the route. Okay. Lackadaisical to capture positioning and stack coverage behind him. Overall, though, feels like we have the right coaching staff, I guess, in place to kind of work through that, right? I don't think this is a Kadarius Toney situation. And I think we're going to see numbers similar to OBJ. But do I see the same kinds of plays? I think I don't know. He doesn't remind me of OBJ. A little bit. Yeah, I guess he does. All right, maybe he does remind me a little bit of OBJ. I'm just watching the highlights now, and I'm just like, yeah, those are all, actually, that does look a lot like OBJ. Yeah. I'm just, I'm pumped. I'm excited. It's kind of crazy going back and watching like the interview that he had pre-draft, where it was like, yeah, I talked to the Giants, they're cool. And it's like, I wonder if Giants brass went to him and said, hey, can you like not act too excited about us possibly picking you? I guess it's just nonstop smoke screens. It must be like what it must have been like to be a spy during the Cold War. It's just like nonstop fucking smoke screens and like distractions and red herrings and just like, there was so much crazy shit coming out of this draft. Like, oh, we tried to move up to 3 with the Patriots, but no dice. And then was it Schefter saying if the Chargers passed on Joe Alt, we would have taken Joe Alt, which I don't know how that would have gone with a lot of Giants fans. I would not have been too bummed about it because I'm like, fuck yeah, now we have serious competition at the tackle position, the right tackle position. If Andrew Thomas goes down with another injury or Evan Neal goes down with an injury, we have, it just seems like there was, I would not have been like that angry about it. But that being said, if we did pass on it like a Nabers, that's where it's like, it gets tricky because it's like, it would have had to be like, there's no way we would not have gotten a wide receiver. There's no world. Unless it's like, you have Williams to the Bears, you have Daniels to the Commanders, and you have, I guess, Pats were pretty dead set, sitting dead red on Drake May. And then if you go, is it Marvin Harrison, Malik Nabers, and then you have either Roma Dunze or Joe Alt. Do you go Alt over Dunze? I think I would have probably gone to Dunze. It's tempting though. So the weaknesses feel like they're not huge weaknesses. I just like how explosive he is. So there's a lack of polish and precision, but I think that can be cleaned up, right? Like he displays toughness and has strength to fight for tight window victories with the middle. That's cool to hear. Can play all 3 receiver spots and has the profile to become a productive high volume target over all 3 levels as a potential wide receiver 1. Yeah, he's wide receiver 1 right off the bat. I know the coaches are not allowed to say that, but he is. And every single Giants fan knows that. So I'm pretty excited about that pick. Kind of hoping it doesn't go down the same way OBJ went down, where it's just like it became a bit much. That friggin' Carolina game with Josh Norman, Jesus Christ. So hopefully it doesn't go down that road, that route. No boat trips or anything of that nature. Our second round pick was interesting because in my preview, I was like, I don't think we need a safety. I like what we got in Pinnock. I like what we have in Belton. We just picked up Jalen Mills. We have Javarius Owens, our draft pick from last year that didn't see any playing time really last year, but still a decent prospect. I didn't mind the safety room. In my mind, we lose Adoree Jackson and we have a major hole at CB2. And I know Nick McLeod played well in Adoree's absence whenever Adoree was out for an extended period of time. But Cordell Flott, has he taken the next step to become CB2? Darnay Holmes is more of a slot guy. So I thought that we were going to go cornerback in round 2. Instead, we go safety. Tyler Nubin, Minnesota Golden Gopher, with the 15th pick over the 15th pick of the second round. Tyler Nubin, who is the highest graded safety. He got an A grade. The Giants got an A grade for this pick. He is the highest graded safety with a 6.33 grade. According to Next Gen Stats, he has a total score of 72, which is considered good, on the lower end of good. His estimated athleticism score is not great, 58, which is average or below average, which was 22nd, ranked 22nd amongst the safety prospects. So apparently not really an athletic guy, but after seeing his tape and seeing breakdowns and whatnot, the guy is a ball hawk and can bait quarterbacks. Now, there are times where he does take chances and risks based on what he's seeing, and he gets burned. So hopefully we can cut down on that. But my God, it'd be nice to have a fucking ball hawk. We just have not had. I mean, I want to say the last safety to have a ton of picks was Stevie Brown in like 2013, I think, or 2014. So, yeah, we just haven't really had a safety that's come up and picked the ball like like I would love to have, like a Terry Kennard-esque type player. That was taking you old school with that shit. So I don't know. Best safety in the draft, okay. Did we need a safety? Not really. And there were other, like, understandably, I think the top 5 corners were off the board by the time we picked in the second round. The fucking Eagles got 2 of the top 5, Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. So their secondary, which was a big weakness last season, with James Bradbury kind of leaning towards him getting cut. I think that was a major issue for them down the stretch. So they've kind of refortified their secondary, son of a gun. And so now there were just other corners to be had. 7, in fact. I went through. This is just according to grades. I didn't look at the next gen stats. So the next gen stats probably tell a different story. But these are the picks that we could have had, prospects that we could have selected with the 15th pick of the second round. Going from highest graded to lowest graded. Enos Orakastra Jr. from Mizzou, who was one of the projected corners to go to the Giants. He ends up getting selected by the Lions, 6.35 grade. Renardo Green from Florida State. So Enos went at the 29th pick of the second round to the Lions. Renardo Green, Florida State, was the last pick of the second round, who went to the 49ers, 6.34 grade. Chris Abrams-Drain, also from Mizzou, went in round 5 to the Broncos, 6.25 grade. Mike, I don't want to pronounce this, Senristil from Michigan, went to the Commanders just 3 picks after we selected, 6.24 grade. TJ Tampa, who I think Dan Duggan and possibly Dane Bruler thought would be a Giant, from Iowa State, went in round 4, towards the end of round 4, to the Ravens, 6.24 grade. Elijah Jones from BC went towards the end of round 3 to the Cardinals, 6.23. And Kalen Carson from the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, way at the end of round 5 to the Cowboys, 6.22. So there's 7 corners that, if you're going by this grade system, could eventually be a plus starter or an average starter, which is all you can ask for, really, considering the top 5 were off the board. I would have thought that we would have gone with them as opposed to the highest graded safety, Tyler Nubin. I'm not too miffed about it, to be honest. I think that Tyler Nubin is now projected. They released like a very premature depth chart or predictions on the depth chart, and they say that he will be the starter over Dane Belton. I think that'll be an interesting competition at camp. Competition's good. Competition breeds winners. That quote, I don't know. I'm a competitive fuck, and I always lose. Does it make me a better person? I don't know. Probably not. So that was a round 2 pick. And so in round 3, we went corner, and we went with Andrew Phillips out of Kentucky, who the Giants got an A grade for this, which was interesting. His grade personally is a 6.22. So I think this is a very deep corner draft. And maybe that went to the thinking. It was like, well, this draft is not deep at safety. So let's take the top safety because there's not much else left there. Meanwhile, Andrew Phillips is ranked I don't even think he was top 10 corners ranked, but yet he has a 6.22 grade. So he can eventually be a good starter. His next gen stats, not great. He's average, 67. Production score is 60. Athleticism score is estimated at 69. The rankings there, for production, was 37th. For athleticism, it's 19th. For total score, it's 31st. So in terms of next gen, but if you go by the grade, NFL Draft Tracker grade with 6.22, yeah, I guess you're looking at possible year 2 starter. So, and he seems pretty pumped to be with the Giants. He seems pretty pumped to be reunited with Wan'Dale Robinson. Looks forward to going against him in training camp. Maybe he could, I don't know. So again, competition. I don't think you're not going to hand him CB2 right off the bat. I don't think you're going to hand Tyler Nubin the starting safety position. You got to kind of see how he stacks up, I think. And if he ultimately wins it, great. And if Andrew Phillips wins it, then great. I don't know how they determine who wins because for the fucking love of God, Trey Hawkins was our CB2 coming out of training camp last year. So whatever methods they're using to test, and maybe this is why Wink Martindale is no longer with the New York Giants, is because his assessment and methods of assessing probably not the best. You're not the best around. So those are rounds 1 through 3. In round 4, this is a good pick. I like this pick a lot. Theo Johnson from Penn State. He was projected to go in the 3rd round. We got him in the 4th. I believe they call it a value pick. He's the 4th highest graded tight end with a 6.15 grade, which is good backup with the potential to develop into a starter, which is all you can ask for. His next gen stats, his 76 total score, which is considered good. 4th, we said 4th highest ranked tight end. Second highest athletic score amongst tight ends. Whereas his production score, not so great, 11th. But I'm really excited about the athleticism score. This is an athletic dude, and judging by his tape, I think he's kind of flew under the radar, is underrated. I think I had mocked or predicted that the Giants were going to pick Ben Sinnott, who ended up going to the Commanders. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. But I'm almost more excited about Theo Johnson, someone that I wasn't attuned to heading into the draft. But now after I've done some research and watched some film, I'd have to say I like the pick. And given that Darren Waller is kind of like just hanging on the fence there, not knowing what his future holds, pairing Theo Johnson with Daniel Bellinger, I like that duo a lot because Theo's kind of like more of the athletic pass catching. Belly's more of a nice, better blocker, I would assume, but it can also is great for that goddamn, it's the friggin' Daniel Bellinger play where it's like, we're going to fake naked boot, boom, Belly's right there. He picks up like 7 yards, automatic every time. I love it. So that's the 4th rounder. 5th rounder. This was kind of interesting, and I don't know if I agree with the pick. But after reading about this guy and seeing his next gen stats, I guess I could get a little excited about it. Even though, like I said, the room that he's now entering is at capacity. It has to be. Tyrone Tracy Jr. from Purdue, Boilermaker, in round 5. He's a former wide receiver converted. He was projected to go in the 4th, so we got him in the 5th, value pick. He's the 5th highest graded running back, which I didn't see. 6.18 grade. Next gen stats, his total score is 68, which is average, but his athleticism score is estimated 86, which would put him 4th amongst that 2024 class of running backs. So who knows? I mean, like, I pretty much automatically handed the starting job to Devin Singletary. We then signed Dante Miller. We have Eric Gray. Gary Brightwell, I believe, is still on the team. And there's talks about they should add one more veteran free agent running back. And, I guess they haven't ruled out Matt Breida. So it's a lot of fucking running backs, dude. I don't know that you need 7. I feel like you need to get 3's good. 3's company. And Devin Singletary always struck me as a guy that is like, could be you don't have to take him off the field on 3rd down and in passing situations. But from what I've heard about this guy could be a nice pass catching back. So I don't hate the pick. I just feel like I would have liked to maybe gone offensive line or defensive line. And instead, in round 6, our last pick of the draft, we didn't have a round 7 pick, which I watched to the end because I'm like, why do I feel like we're going to trade into this? We're going to trade into the 7th round. I was like, it's very unlikely, but if it happens and I don't see it, am I really even a fan? But so round 6, we go with a linebacker, Darius Mosu. Probably should have learned how to pronounce that. UCLA Bruin, round 6, pick 7. 5.89 grade. 5.89 is an average backup or special teamer. So it's like, okay, I guess, the world needs special teamers. His next gen stats, though, are better. 70, which is right on the precipice of good. It is good, but on the precipice of being average. His production score is 76, which is 8th amongst the linebacking class. And then his athleticism score is low. It's estimated 64. So I don't know. He seems like he's a little bit on the smaller side. 6'1", 220, 226. I don't know. I feel like there might be probably some better picks to be had. There was a couple of linebackers that I saw that had higher grades that were picked after him. Nathaniel Watson, Mississippi State, went to the Browns at the tail end of round 6. He had a 5.96 grade, and Jamal Hill from Oregon was picked halfway through the 6th round by the Texans, 5.90. So, but then again, I saw there's like a bunch of players where like they might have a 6 or above grade, completely undrafted. So I don't know what's going on there. No D tackle, no D lineman, no offensive lineman. Yet again, we have ignored the trenches. And I think you should never ignore the trenches during a draft, dude. Especially when you have 6 picks. Like, did we need another running back? I don't think so. Did we need a linebacker? Maybe. Only because I don't know what Darian Beaver's status is, but I guess they don't have a ton of confidence in him, or they want to give him some competition maybe as a backup to Micah McFadden. Isaiah Simmons is kind of in the mix there, but not really. So inside linebacker, I don't know. I guess it's a thin line between love and hate, though. Like the depth there is not great, right? Because if Okereke goes down, then you're kind of screwed, And by all counts, he could have very easily tapped out last year and be like, guys, I have a broken rib. I can't laugh or cough. Can I please not play football? But he gutted it out. That's why we love him. At the same time, if he goes down, we're fucked. So, yeah, I get it. You do need depth along in inside linebacker position. Like I said, I guess you don't need to go defensive lineman. I did look up, who is available, because I think you don't, I'm not going to argue with wide receiver at 1, corner at 2 or 3, safety at 2 or 3. I think tight end was a bigger priority than safety and running back. So I was like, we got to get it's got to be wide receiver, secondary, and then a tight end. Those are like your first 3 to 4 picks. So I was looking at some defensive linemen or mostly I guess defensive linemen that would have fit the bill in that 5th or 6th round that you could have selected instead of a running back, Tyrone Tracy or Darius Mousal. Dead Mouse, as I like to call him. Dead Mouse 5. We could have drafted Fabian Lovett Sr., Florida State Seminole. He had a grade of 6.2, which is eventually be an average starter. And his next gen stats his total score was 63, which is average. So I have a feeling that maybe that's the reason why he wasn't drafted. I don't know. I don't know the full story on Fabian, but that's kind of interesting that he went undrafted. Mekhi Wingo from LSU was picked in the 6th round by the Lions. He had a 6.19 grade and a 74 total score from Next Gen Stats, which is considered good. That one feels like, why didn't we go with him? Why? But again, I really do think they must have a certain degree of faith in DJ Davidson and Jordan Riley to say to them, hey, we like what you're doing, because I don't remember either one of those guys playing in a game and saying, well, they don't belong on the field. Like I just never said that. And there were definitely some times last year where I think Leonard Williams was hurt a little bit, banged up, and so DJ got some extra playing time. Jordan Riley didn't really see the field until the end of the year, but I don't remember him like sticking out as like, whoa, this guy, is not ready for the stage. But so yeah, it's all right. But God, Mekhi Wingo, it's kind of, I don't know. Tyler Davis from Clemson. He went to the Rams in round 6, 6.15 grade. Next gen stats, total score of 68, which is average. And then Marcus Harris from Auburn went in round 7, towards the end of round 7 to the Texans, 6.1 grade. And his next gen stats, total score was 68, which is average. So of those, I would say Mekhi Wingo seems like, that would have been nice. And then I don't know that I looked at offensive linemen, because let's see here. I mean, Malik Nabers had the highest grade of the entire friggin' draft. So I don't know how anyone could be upset about that. But goddamn it, if he does not, if he's a bust, oh, heads will roll, out the door. What am I looking at here? Guard, because I don't think we would go tackle. Yeah, I mean, would you have gone guard in round 2? No, but could you have gone guard in round 3? This is what I'm talking about. Like, I think that you almost could have gone corner at 2, guard at 3, because I was really, and I know that Bobby Skinner from Talking Giants was really high on Christian Haynes from Connecticut, UConn. He ended up getting picked by the Seahawks round 3, pick 17, 6.27 grade. I think in a lot of my mock drafts, I think I either went, I'm looking at the names here, Cooper Beebe from Kansas State. He went in round 3, pick 9 to the Cowboys, 6.29 grade. So, where did we pick in round 3? I don't think I wrote it down. Coop. So he might have been Cooper might have been off the board by the time we selected. So I understand that. But then Christian Haynes at pick 17, I think we picked before that. So Christian Haynes was still on the board. Zach Zinter was another guy I had mocked. He went 4 picks later than Haynes. The 21st pick in round 3 of the Browns, 6.24 grade. And then I think I had 2 more, I believe. Brandon Coleman from TCU, he went early in the round 3 to the Commanders, so he might have been off the board. Yeah, he was off the board before we picked, 6.19 grade. And then Christian Mahogany from Boston College, he ended up going way at the end of round 6 to the Lions, 6.16. But again, I think that's like underrated value pick by the Lions that could really pay off for them. So those were the guards that I was looking at, because I don't think you don't really need a center. You're not going to spend a pick on a center. You could potentially spend a pick on a tackle. So I guess we could look at tackles just for the fuck of it, just to see if anyone really sticks out. But yeah, I mean, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7 top tackles went in the first round, and then you get down like who was available in round 3. I'm looking here. I'm looking there. I'm looking here. Yeah. So round 3. I don't even think we could have got him or him, maybe him. So you're looking at in terms of tackles, you could have picked Matt Goncalves from Pitt, who went to the Colts halfway through round 3. I think we picked for them. Yeah, because I think Andrew Phillips was round 3, pick 10. Am I right about that? Probably not. And then Javon Foster from Mizzou went to the Jaguars in round 4, 6.18 grade. And then I think the last potential guy that you could pick at tackle would be Nathan Thomas, Louisiana Lafayette, went in round 7 to the Cowboys. The Cowboys went a couple tackles in this draft. They got Myron Guyton. Remember him? Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma with the 29th pick in round 1. So, and I know Olufashanu was, when we were thinking about possibly going tackle with our first pick, like if we traded back or traded down, would we have gone Joe Alt or Troy Fatanu or Olufashanu? Possibly, but he goes to the Jets. So curious to see how that pans out. Yeah, so those are our picks. Little nitpicks here and there from me. I wasn't completely. I wouldn't do A+. When I do A, I'll do A-, but on the precipice of an A, like pretty much an A. Yeah, another good draft, I think, from Joe Shane. Dane Bruler tends to agree, right? He ranked all the teams' drafts from best to worst, 1 to 32, 1 being the best, 32 being the worst. Giants came in 7th. They usually have the 6th pick every round, so I guess that's on par with what they should have done. His favorite pick was obviously Malik Nabers. Nabers would have been an easy top 5 pick in most other drafts if it weren't for this run on quarterbacks. He says that Nabers is a truly explosive threat that the Giants offense has been missing, and I couldn't agree harder. He also gives a day 3 pick that could surprise us, and that's, lo and behold, Tyrone Tracy Jr., the running back from Purdue. He says Devin Singletary and Eric Gray are solid players, but Tracy has an opportunity to make an immediate impact both on offense and as a return man. The former wide receiver is at his best as a pass catcher, but as long as he has a lane, Tracy can create big plays. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention tight end Theo Johnson, whose value could climb if Darren Waller doesn't return. Yeah, so, I I guess Eric Gray. Yeah, I mean, like, I cannot believe it's so fucking weird. I don't know what I'd love to know more about from the Giants coaching staff about what they were thinking when they thought Eric Gray was going to be our return guy. I mean, there are some real head scratchers that this coaching staff pulls off from time to time. It's like consistently, most of the time, it's like, all right, yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. Good job. Yep. And then they throw a curveball every once in a while that makes you question everything. And Eric Gray as a returner is exhibit A. So don't have to worry about Eric Gray returning anymore. I kind of like the Singletary Eric Gray 1-2 punch with Tracy coming on passing situations, possibly. I dig it. So yeah, I guess that's something to watch out for. In terms of the other teams, I think the Eagles, where were the Eagles at? I think they were ranked above us. And it was mostly because of that, they had a pretty decent draft. They had a pretty good draft. Got a lot of value picks. They had a lot of picks. Commanders ranked 9th. They obviously had Jaden Daniels, but they ended up getting the Mike Senritz, still the corner from Michigan that we had all wanted, and the tight end that we wanted, Ben Sinnott, within 3 picks of each other from Kansas State. Cowboys were ranked 10th. They got Cooper Beebe, which is the guard that I was kind of hoping we would get. But again, I think it was a round 2 pick, and it was like, I think corners, like, I feel like corner is the bigger priority. So yeah, not bad. 7th out of 32. And from what I've seen from most of the pundits, experts, talking heads, scouts, whatever, it seems like A's across the board in terms of our draft. So yeah, I mean, it seems like Shane is building something special. I mean, I don't know that besides Nabers, I don't know that anyone's really jumping out at you. You know, I mean, like I said, Evan Neal was like, we can get to it in a little bit, but it's just like, holy shit, Evan Neal. Anyway, this is Ted Nguyen from The Athletic. He has his top 10 favorite fits from the draft, not outfits. We're not talking fashion here. Jesus. We're talking schemes in terms of what the best fits for a player and the scheme that with the team that they selected them. Does that make any sense? Like, it's a good fit. So this is the top 10 best fits. Player with a team. Draftee with the drafter. Caleb Williams and the Bears was 1. Joe Alt and the Chargers was 2. Both of those make a lot of sense. Both of those are good fits. And then he has Malik Nabers at 3 with Los Gigantes. He says that Nabers is a big play slot with elite yards after catch ability, something that we have, for the most part, lacked. I guess you could point to maybe Darius Slayton and say Darius Slayton has the ability to catch the ball and take it to the house. MIA. He's just Nabers is a speedster with some size and strong hands. And the scheme that the Giants have is a spread offense that has to evolve into more of a drop back attack. With the loss of Barkley, we're going to move towards a more pass centric attack, according to this Ted Nguyen. And because of a Nabers' ability to separate and create after the catch, the natural comparison is Tyreek Hill. So that's what I mentioned before. You know, the ability to, you look at Tyreek Hill and it's like, I don't know how you guard the guy, first of all, because if he's taking off and reaching top speed like that, you're thinking, all right, I got to turn and run with him. And then he just throttles down and it's an easy 15-yard, 10-yard curl for a first down every time. I don't understand how anyone can defend that. Although I guess the Chiefs did. So I love that comp. I mean, he's not Tyreek Hill, but just the having that ability to put that kind of fear into the defense's mind is good, because I don't know that. I mean, you know, we've talked about it before. Teams like the Cowboys and the Eagles, they just do not fucking respect us at all. They just like, they automatically assume that we're not a threat to them. So now we have a threat, like a legitimate threat. Hopefully he doesn't miss the first 4 games to a hamstring injury. I can almost fucking put money on that he's going to have a hamstring injury in camp and he won't be able to available week 1. It's just like a foregone conclusion. But when he is healthy, he's going to put up record-breaking numbers. Of the top 3 receivers in the draft class, Nabers will need the most development, as we know, with the route running and whatnot. And he's more scheme dependent than Odunze and Marvin Harrison Jr. Interesting. Nabers will have some trouble against press coverage early in his career, and he'll have to expand his route tree. I also found that interesting because one of his strengths was his ability to hand fight. So my guess is that, I guess off the line he can't get through press, but once he's in his route and running hard and the ball's in the air, then that's when the hand fight comes out and he's able to win. I don't know. Mike Kafka, Giants offensive coordinator, will draw up creative screens for Nabers and utilize motion to keep defenders from being able to press Nabers too often, which, yeah, I get it, man. That works for me. I mean, when's the last time we've had a good screen game? Running back or wide receiver. I feel like it just never, at least, and sadly with Barkley, it never panned out. That was fucking nuts to me that like screens with Barkley weren't a thing. Like the last screens that I remember that were working was maybe 2016 with Rashad Jenkins. Oh shit, I completely forgot his name. Rashad Jennings. Jesus, been a while. And Paul Perkins. So I don't remember our screens doing fairly well beyond that, which fucking sucks that we never got it down with Barkley. And as mad as I am about at Barkley and about Barkley, the organization did such a disservice to him with at least the coaching staff did, just not first, the front office by not giving him an offensive line. Same thing. I mean, you could say the same thing about Daniel Jones. They just never gave them. Look at the offensive line rankings. I mean, there were plenty of injuries, so that didn't help. But look at the offensive line rankings for the past, ever since Barkley was drafted. It's fucking bottom of the barrel every year. Every year. Maybe in 2022, it was like average. That was it. Every other year, it's just stunk. And so, I mean, I guess you could point to someone like Patrick Mahomes and maybe Joe Burrow. Like Mahomes going to the Super Bowl in the COVID year where like he didn't have any offensive linemen. He was getting sacked 1,000 times, but he could here and there escape and like make a big play. Joe Burrow, I want to say in 2020, the next year, maybe 2021, and that Super Bowl against the Rams. I mean, his offensive line, he was getting sacked like 7 or 8 times in the playoffs per game. Still, they were better than the Giants offensive line. So, we'll see. I think the offensive line still needed. I'm glad what they did with Runyon. I'm glad what they did Illuminati, as I like to call them. But I still think you're one guy short. And like, does that mean like I know I didn't talk about it on the pod, but like they did sign Aaron Stinney, guard, and so there are people that are projecting that he's going to start at guard. And that Runyon's at the other guard, and then Illuminors are starting tackle, where then Evan Neal's just benched and like is our elite prospect on the bench. Oh boy, Evan Neal. But yeah, so that was from Ted Nguyen. He also said that of the top 10, 5 and 6 were Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean to the Eagles. So the Eagles done good in terms of plugging in the holes that they had in the secondary. That's for show. So that's that. Dan Duggan, everyone's favorite Giants beat writer who works for The Athletic. His favorite pick is Theo Johnson, tight end from Penn State. The ideal day 3 pick, 6'6", 259, elite size, speed, and athleticism. Scouting report is similar to Darren Waller's in 2015. Ooh, interesting. Johnson slipped to the 4th round because his college production was underwhelming, but late bloomers are common at tight end. Johnson's traits suggest he could develop into a better pro than a college player. I love that. Yeah, I mean, you look at like, I don't think he's going to be George Kittle, but I don't think George Kittle was like a standout tight end at Iowa. Same could be said about Sam Laporta. Like a lot of times the tight end at the college level, it's like it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't click for whatever reason. But so I think that, that could be the steal. So I like the Theo Johnson pick. I was not high on the Tyrone Tracy pick, but after hearing some things here and there, it's like maybe he could be a cool, nice third wheel in the backfield, especially on passing downs. So that was the 2024 NFL draft. I don't want to get my hopes up too much. I think it's going to be, the hope is that John Michael Schmitz takes the next step. Deonte Banks stays healthy, and we'll see like was Adoree Jackson really covering up, without Adoree Jackson? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the Giants got a little bit better, right? On paper. I am not, I guess, I was really worried about CB2. I'm not as much now, although I still don't know. I'm curious. I'm very curious about Andrew Phillips. I would like to see how that pans out, because to spend a third rounder, is that a top 100 pick? Yeah, I mean, that's a top 100 pick on a third rounder on a corner that was not necessarily like that highly graded. I would have liked. I think I disagree with like one or two picks, possibly three. I don't but I mean, I'm not like completely shocked and like, what in the world are they thinking? It's like, it all makes sense. I understand. So that's 2024 Giants draft. I thought I would take a quick look at the past. What is it now? 6 drafts ever since Saquon was drafted, because that it feels like people have been taught, like a lot of the fucking Nimrods out there who like eviscerated and like crucified Dave Gettleman. And I'm not trying to defend. I mean, I guess maybe a little bit trying to defend David Gettleman, at least when it comes to that pick, Saquon pick. But it's more about like, okay, so what would you have done differently? Because if I remember correctly, everyone and their fucking mother was asking for us to pick Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen gets picked by the Cardinals and sucks so fucking hard that he's done after like a year, maybe less than a year. And they literally drafted a quarterback the next Kyler Murray the next year. Can you imagine if we selected fucking Josh Rosen? You would have got your wish. We got a top quarterback, right? We got one of the top 5 quarterbacks, because those were the top 5 quarterbacks were from top to bottom. Sam Darnold, who got a 7.1 grade, which is literally Pro Bowl talent. Baker Mayfield is the second highest, although he went first overall to the Browns with a 6.7 grade. Josh Rosen was tied with Baker Mayfield in terms of grades, 6.7. Again, year 1 starter. Josh Allen was a 6.4. He was picked right after Daniel Jones from out of Wyoming. 6.4 grade, which will become a good starter within 2 years, which, I mean, yeah, that pretty much happened. And then tied with him, Lamar Jackson, last pick of the first round of the Ravens, 6.4. So it's like, what if we picked, like, Darnold was off the board? Were you going to trade up? Like, can you imagine if we offered a shit ton of picks and whatever to the Jets to get to pick 3 to select fucking Sam Darnold? That would have set us back a little bit. Baker Mayfield, I think, would that have been worth it? Because I think he got the premature boot in Cleveland. I don't know why. I disagree with them, moving on from him, because I don't think he was the issue there. So I would have liked Baker Mayfield. Would I have liked trading so much capital for him? I don't know. It's tough to say. Like Josh Allen would be great. Lamar Jackson would be great. But no one guessed that they were going to be what they are now. So for all the people that are like, we should have taken a quarterback, it's like, well, yeah, I guess 2018 was a good draft, but what about 2017 draft? Because I mean, 2016, like Eli was not putting up crazy numbers. I mean, the 2016 season, our success was based on how our defense performed, because our defense won us so many games, especially late, coming up with huge stands. So, all right, let's look at the quarterbacks 2017, because like 2013 was really the first bad year that Eli had, where it was like he had something. I think he led the league in interception. It was like 27 interceptions, something like that. Now, granted, if you actually watch the fucking games, you would know that half of those interceptions were tips, drop balls, should have been catches, freak interceptions. Yeah, look at the 20s. Literally, this is how much of a crapshoot the NFL draft is in terms of like grades and all that shit. So it's like all that I said in that reaction video to the NFL draft, the Giants draft, like A grade, here's a score, highest grade safety, high grade, blah, 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 blah. A lot of times it doesn't mean shit. Mitchell Trubisky was the 2nd overall pick by the Bears. He had a grade of 7, Pro Bowl talent. Mahomes was picked 10. He had a 6.3 grade. Will eventually be a plus starter. Nathan Peterman was the fifth highest. Nathan Peterman had the same grade as fucking Patrick Mahomes, and he went in the 5th round to the Bills. It's just like, we ended up picking Davis Webb that year in the round 3. He had a 5.8 grade. So it's like, we could have picked. Who could have we have picked? Deshaun in 2017. I think we selected Evan Ingram, right, with our first pick. Woof. You look at these other quarterbacks like Trubisky, Watson, Deshaun Kaiser. Deshaun Kaiser had the same draft, same grade as Patrick Mahomes and Nathan Peterman. And then, we ended up going with Davis Webb, 5.8. Great quarterback coach. Not so much great quarterback. So for all these people that said, no, we shouldn't have selected Saquon. You never select a running back that high. I have some news for you, and I don't know if you forgot this, but Saquon Barkley's grade was 7.45. Now, did I just get done saying that these grades don't mean shit? Yes. But a 7.45 grade, which is not just Pro Bowl talent, it's literally perennial All-Pro. You looked at, they released his scouting combine numbers, and he was like number 1 in almost every position group, not just running backs, every position group. And a truly elite, like his next gen stats are elite across the board. How do you fucking pass on that with the 2nd pick overall? If you feel like Eli's still got some juice in the tank, which, 2013, you might have been like, whoa, fuck, we might think about moving on. 2014, he gets Odell and his stats take off. 2015, he's a Pro Bowler. 2016 is kind of like meh. 2017, everyone gets hurt. So like, can you really blame him for what happened in 2017? Not really. He didn't have his top receivers. That Chargers game, literally, they had like 3 or 4 tight ends lining up as wideouts. Like our 3rd tight end was like the Y or the Z. So yeah, we didn't go quarterback in 2018. And Eli did not play all that bad in 2018. It got off to a really bad start, and then he finished the season really well. That was really the first year that we had. So we had Saquon and Odell, Evan Ingram, and oh my God, I just so many weapons. What happened? So, I guess you could say we largely ignored the offensive line. But like Will Hernandez was our 2nd round pick in 2018. He was the 2nd highest graded guard in the draft at 6.7. We could have, instead of, going with Barkley on the 2nd pick overall, should we have taken Quentin Nelson, who is a 7.4 and who essentially is a perennial All-Pro, with the 2nd pick overall? I don't know. Could we have traded back and still got him? I don't know. Instead, we signed Nate Solder in free agency. We all know how that goes. So, we didn't select a wide receiver in 2018. We had Odell, Shep, and Ingram. I guess it would have been nice to have a 3rd. So that was 2018, 2019. We reached for Daniel Jones. There's no doubt about it. 6th pick overall. His grade was 6.3. But yet again, Patrick Mahomes was a 6.3. Josh Allen was that same score. Lamar Jackson was that same score. So it's like, was it that much of a reach? I don't know. Kyler Murray went 1. Is Kyler Murray a better quarterback? Debatable. His Daniel Jones' next Jones stats aren't like crazy good. His total score was 77, which places him 3rd among quarterbacks. Athleticism places him 7th. Production score places him 6th amongst that class. No one knew that fucking Patrick Mahomes was going to be like this. What the fuck? No one knew that Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson were going to turn out like they did. Come on. I have an Eagles fan friend who constantly reminds me that I wanted Dwayne Haskins in that draft. And I think a lot of Giants fans did. We thought that we were going to go with Dwayne Haskins. He's a Giants fan, even though you see Daniel Jones wearing a Eli jersey when he was younger. Dwayne Haskins had the higher grade, 6.7. Drew Lock, our current backup, had a higher grade than Daniel Jones, 6.4, and he went in the 2nd round to the Broncos. in terms of quarterbacks in that draft, other than Kyler Murray, are you going to trade up for a guy who's literally 5'3"? Or would you have taken Haskins, who, I mean, didn't pan out with the Commanders, but maybe if he is with the Giants, things go differently. If we, Drew Lock didn't go to the second round, so there was something going on there that scouts and executives weren't too high on. Drew Lock had his next gen stats were 79. Total score is 79, which is higher than Daniel Jones. And now he's on our team. There's some interesting talk now about how Drew Lock could be the starting quarterback. Competition. That's the main keyword here. That's like that I can't emphasize it enough. Competition. I'm all for it. If Drew Lock comes in and gives Daniel Jones a serious run for his money, Daniel Jones is going to be a better quarterback for it. Or we get Drew Lock and he's the better quarterback. Same can be said at the CB2. Same could be said at the inside linebacker. Same can be said at the safety position. When you have this kind of competition, all boats, rising seas, that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So I guess, yeah, we could have traded back and still gotten Daniel Jones. I think that was the main criticism. I mean, Gardner Minshew was selected in the round 6 and was graded at 5.6. And he's now one of the highest paid backups in the league and is like a good spot starter. He could start all 17 games and play decent. He was a round 6 pick and he was a 5.6 grade. Which is wild. Although, Patrick Mahomes' next gen stats, he was elite. His total score was elite. So that is interesting that a lot of teams passed on him. So, yeah. But Dexter Lawrence, Pro Bowler, got him at pick 17, 6.7 grade. He was the 3rd highest grade among D tackles, and I would say arguably he's the best of the class. That was a big need, and we picked him up, and people, I mean, I couldn't be happier about that pick. We whiffed on DeAndre Baker big time. We traded back into the first round to get him. He had a 6.4 grade, his 2nd highest grade among corners. His athleticism score was just awful, which now makes sense. It's like his total score was 79, which is good, but it was brought down a lot by his athleticism score, which was estimated, and he was gone after a year. Who could we have gone differently with in that draft at the corner position? Greedy Williams. He went in the 2nd round to the Browns. He was the highest graded corner, and I mean, I don't know that has he done a whole lot. I think I looked this up. I don't know that he's done a whole bunch. I mean, he had a pretty good rookie year, started 12 games, and then, started 8 games the following year, and then 1 game in 2022, and he didn't even play last year. So, tough, I guess a tough year for corners. We got Julian Love in the 4th round. He had a 6.3 grade. His athleticism score was 4th among corners because he was listed as a corner in the draft. His total score made him the 2nd highest ranked corner according to Next Gen Stats. And this motherfucker didn't start for the first 3 years. And then he ends up starting because Dable and I would assume Wink are like, yeah, this guy's amazing. Why is he not playing? And then, of course, he gets too rich for our blood, and he signs with the Seahawks, and he's a Pro Bowler. We ended up selecting Corey Ballantyne. I think he got shot out of Washburn, 11th amongst the corners in that class in terms of athleticism. But he played in 22 games. He eventually went to the Jets, the Lions, and now the Packers. So he had a 6.1 grade. Good backup with the potential to develop in the starter. It never happened for us. I think wide receiver was a need in 2019. We had just traded away OBJ. We didn't really have a wide receiver one. Instead, we signed Golden Tate to that ridiculous deal. We picked Darius Slayton in the 5th round. He had a 6.2 grade. His athleticism score made him the 2nd highest ranked receiver of that class, 97, dude. Now, could we have gone with a different receiver? Could we have said nay to Golden Tate, save our money, not sign Golden Tate? Instead, you don't trade up to select DeAndre Baker. Instead, you pick DK Metcalf, you pick AJ Brown, you pick Deebo Samuel. Oh shit, man. That's the one I think that really bugs me the most is that, we got the quarterback, heir apparent that we're hoping because of fucking, what's his name? Daniel David Cutcliffe at Duke. If that guy didn't exist, we would not have picked Daniel Jones. Who the hell would you have picked? I don't know. Drew Lock? But yeah, DK was available, AJ was available, Debo was available. All three of those guys, any of those three guys would have made such a huge, and I'm not shitting on Darius Slayton. He has performed above and beyond for being a fifth rounder. When you think about it, when was the last time we had a fifth? We had obviously Victor Cruz undrafted, but like a fifth round or later receiver, a later round day 3 receiver that has put up the numbers that Darius Slayton has. Now, yeah, it's by default because we don't have anyone else. I get it, but still, I still believe in Darius Slayton. I still like the dude. He has some like really frustrating drops here and there, but he can also come up with some really huge plays. So fuck, man. If you could go back in time and redraft, you don't go DeAndre Baker. You go DK, AJ, or Debo. My God. That being said, I don't know that the likes of like Pat Shurmur would know what to do with that shit, though. I don't know that he would be. I mean, I guess he really let loose towards the second half of 2018. I was like, if this is how the offense can operate, let's just do this all the time. And then really down the stretch in 2019, it all fell apart. But and who's to say you couldn't go Slayton in round 5, and still go DK, AJ, or Debo in round 2? Why not? I think at that time we had Shep, at the receiver position, but not much else. Golden Tate, like, okay, we don't sign Golden Tate. We don't draft DeAndre Baker. We draft DK, AJ, or Debo. Oh, baby. And maybe we spend some money on an offensive lineman that actually can do something. I mean, offensive line was a huge need in 2019. It's always been a need since friggin' 2012, 11. It's been a need for a long ass time, and we didn't. The only offensive lineman we selected in this fucking draft was George Asafo-Adjei in the 7th round. Finally, we came to our wits in 2020, and we went tackle at the 4th overall pick. Andrew Thomas, 6.49 grade, 3rd highest among tackles. Production score was 2nd among tackles. His athleticism score was 14th, which is crazy to think about. We could have selected Jedrick Wills. I believe he was available. He had the highest grade. Solid. He's been a solid player, but no Pro Bowls. Mekhi Becton. Can you imagine if we selected Mekhi Becton? He had the 2nd highest grade among tackles. He's injured all the fucking time. And we could have gone Tristan Wirfs, who of the 4, arguably is the best one. He had the 4th highest grade of the 4, but he's had all pro seasons, Pro Bowl seasons. In round 3, we select Matt Peart from UConn, 6.14 grade. He started 7 games over 4 seasons, and he's now with the Broncos. Round 5, we select Shane Lemieux, guard out of Oregon, 6.17 grade. 4th highest among guards. He started 9 games his rookie year. It looked good, and then he played in 6 games over the past 3 seasons. Ben Bredesen was also in that draft. He had a 5.99 grade, and then I would say of him, Shane, and Parrott, he's the best. And then Tyree Phillips was a guard in this draft, 6.24, 2nd highest graded fucking guard. Didn't select him, and it's just crazy how we now have Ben Bredesen. Well, I don't know if we have Bredesen anymore. And Tyree Phillips, hopefully he comes back and we can get him back in the mix. But holy shit, man. What can you say to that? I guess I could look at who else was available in 2020 at the guard position, just for old time's sake. So when we went round 3 and round 5. So round 3, I mean, Jesus, you had your pick of the litter here. I mean, I guess you could have gone round 3, pick 35. Okay, so Tyree Phillips was off the board at that point. Damian Lewis was off the board at that point. John Simpson was still available. He was the highest rated guard. He got drafted by the Raiders. I have no idea what his story is. Excuse. Oh, I guess. Well, he's played 4 seasons, and he's played 2 full seasons, one in 21 and one last year. And those were his best years. Only started in 2 games the other 2 years. So kind of like wishy-washy, inconsistent, but I don't know. It's still better than what we had. So yeah, I guess we could have gone John Simpson. Tyree Phillips wasn't the player then that he is now. Damian Lewis. I mean, I would need to look up Damian Lewis to see if like that might have been someone worth pursuing. Yeah, he's been a pretty solid guy. 16 starts in 2020, 13 in 2021, 16 in 2022, 16 in 2023. Approximate value in the range of 6 to 8 every year. Yeah, so it's a crapshoot, dude. Kevin Dotson's a pretty good guard for the Steelers. He was picked in round 4. Patterson went round 4. John Runyon, dude. Literally, the guy we just signed in free agency, John Runyon, went in the 6th goddamn round to the Packers. He had a 5.91 grade, average backup or special teamer. Like, you serious, Clark? How the hell are we supposed to know this shit? I don't know. I mean, like, you do your research, you look at all the analysis, you do your interviews, and you still whiff. I mean, and I guess this is where next gen stats, so I guess you do have to ignore the score. The score that you see, you ignore. You have to pay attention to the next gen stats score. In particular, I don't know that you look at the production score. I don't know that you look at that. I think you look at the athleticism score and total score. Because with John Runyon, he is ranked 5th in terms of athleticism score and 5th in total score. And I would say, I mean, you look at that guard class, you'd have to say that he is the best guard. I mean, I don't know. Dotson and Lewis might give him a run for his money. 6th round. I mean, Jesus, Mike, not him. You know what I'm talking about. Linebacker was a big need in 2020. The whole debate we had was, do we go Isaiah Simmons or Andrew Thomas? Ironically, we end up with Isaiah Simmons years later, and he's not even an every down starter. He had the highest grade, 7.03, Isaiah Simmons, Pro Bowl talent. He has yet to make a Pro Bowl, and he's not even an every down starter. We got him for a 7th rounder. You know what I'm saying? It's just wacky, man. Patrick Queen had the 2nd highest score at 6.71, and he is a fucking all Pro Bowl linebacker with the Ravens. So, we picked 4 linebackers in this draft, all 6th and 7th rounders, day 3. Cam Brown, special teams. Carter Coughlin, mostly special teams. TJ Brunson didn't make the team. Tay Crowder was a starter as Mr. Irrelevant and then released because he threw a fit or something. We went safety round 2, Xavier McKinney. He was the top graded safety. His athleticism score was 24th, but yet his production score was 94, which placed him 1st among safeties. His total score was 5th among safeties. And he played well enough to get a big payday from the Packers. So Godspeed. That seems to be the not just the Giants MO, but I feel like it's the MO across the board in the league. Like, I just think that safeties, they do well. They want big bucks, and teams are like, you're not worth it. Have fun. Get your money. Get that bag. Just not here. So it's like almost identical to what happened with Landon Collins. I think Giants fans would have loved to have Landon Collins back, and then he ends up signing a mega deal with Washington and doesn't live up to the deal. And then we bring him back for nothing. And he was a friggin' practice squad player for a while. So all the best to McKinney. Good player. I don't know that I would say great player, but good player. And I don't know that it's such a massive loss. Like, people are saying, oh, that's a huge, big loss. And how are they going to replace Xavier McKinney? It's like, I think we'll do all right. I honestly think we'll do all right. Who else could we have picked as a safety? L'Jarius Sneed. He was actually listed as a corner in this draft. Gets picked by the Chiefs in round 4. He had a 5.96 grade. And I mean, I looked at his stats and he's just a solid dude, Not anything crazy. He's not Pro Bowler. He's not an all pro, but 15 starts in 21, 17 starts in 22, 16 starts in 23. He's had multiple interceptions all those years. His approximate value is around 5 to 6 each year. He had a fucking 108 tackles in 2022 and 3.5 sacks. So, I mean, that's a solid dude. Again, 4th round, 5.96 grade. Like, what? So we didn't select a tight end because we had Ingram, right? This is also around the same. I mean, I would say if you're going to hold Gettleman over the fire, you absolutely 1,000% roast him for his free agency. selections. His free agency was just god awful, and a lot of money went to those players, and none of them paid off. Golden Tate stunk. Nate Solder stunk. Was it Patrick Omamene? The guard we got stunk. Mike Remmer stunk. It's like Zeitler was like the one good big offensive lineman free agency pick that we got, and he didn't even play out his contract. We traded him for peanuts because we had salary cap issues. Name a free agency signing that Gettleman did that like panned out or did well. I can't off the top of my head, you know? I mean, I guess you could say James Bradbury, Blake, I can remember his name, Martinez, who I thought we should have drafted, you know? And who knows if Blake Martinez doesn't get if he doesn't have that knee injury, what happens? Maybe he still plays and he's still good. But yeah, I mean, I guess those signings were decent. You know, I think James Bradbury in 2020 was electric. 2021, not so much. And in 2022, he's gone because of the fucking salary cap issues. Logan Ryan is another. I mean, I guess Graham Gano was a good signing, right? Logan Ryan was a decent signing, a lot of money, and then he signed him to a new contract, and then we bail on that, like almost the next year, I think it was, or the following year. So, I mean, they weren't all bad free agency signings, but it almost feels like none of them were good long-term solutions. And that is ultimately what has sunk this franchise over the past 10 years plus, is our drafts have just not panned out. But it's not for failing to address the needs, the position needs. Does that make sense? Because I'm going through these position needs and I'm like, all right, here and there we missed. We didn't. I mean, like, not drafting top offensive linemen every friggin' year is the biggest, most egregious error. But this is why this is an exploratory exercise to see, like, okay, well, was there anything else out there? I mean, we didn't select a wide receiver in 2020. We had Darius Slayton, Sterling Shepard, and Golden Tate as our top three. You know, signing Kyle Rudolph and Rhett Ellison to big contract, like the free agency contracts. They didn't do shit. 2021 draft. I mean, before that draft, we signed friggin' Kenny Golladay to a massive contract. That was the worst contract in Giants free agency history. And we wouldn't have had to fucking do that if we drafted a top receiver in 2020 or 2019. Yes, we got Slayton in round 5, but if we had gotten AJ, DK, or Debo in 2019, we wouldn't have to sign Kenny Golladay to a redonkulous contract and be put in salary cap hell. Same at the corner position. Free agency is almost like a quick fix Band-Aid solution type thing that you don't want to have to depend on to succeed. Like, we've done it in the past where it was like it paid off in 2016, not so much 2017. It paid off in 2020-ish, like where we almost made the playoffs, backfired in 2021. Like, we're not even getting the full 3 years of these free agents. We're getting one good year, one good to great year, and then we're getting like a shit year. And then a lot of times they're not even on the fucking team in year 3. So if we had drafted a good top corner, not DeAndre Baker in 2019, I mean, 2019, you just weren't going to get a good corner, I don't think. 2020 though, what corner? I mean, you select Darnay Holmes in round 4, and he's been an okay nickel, and he's stuck around, which is good to see, because I thought a lot of people, myself included, thought he was going to get cut. So it's good to see him stick around and like at least provide a little competition for that nickel slot position. But like, no, we didn't draft a top cornerback in 2020. And this is after DeAndre Baker already went through all his struggles in 2019 and was basically gone by 2020. So why not pick a top corner in 2020? We didn't. Chris Williamson in the 7th round. He didn't make the team. 2021, we needed guys along the defensive line, linebacker, edge. I think we signed Austin Johnson, who did okay from the Titans. We draft Aziz, and again, 25 starts over 3 seasons. He's missed 16 games due to injury. But here's the thing. 3rd highest graded edge, 6.39 score. Okay, fine. He's only 23 years old. So if you could just fucking figure it out. And what's great is, like, I know I just shit on free agency. It's like a short-term Band-Aid solution. Brian Burns feels different. I know, like, you can't compare Brian Burns to Olivier Vernon. I don't think they're the same player, because Olivier Vernon got hot one half of one season, and like then all of a sudden he shoots up the rankings of free agency. Brian Burns has been, I believe, a more consistent player. It wasn't just like he had one breakout year and that's that. So I would not, I don't know. I wouldn't classify Brian Burns in that same sphere as like a Janoris Jenkins snacks type of free agency signing. I mean, Pro Bowler in 21, Pro Bowler in 2022, started 14 games in 2020, 16 in every season since then. His approximate value was double digits in 21 and 22. And yeah, he took a little step back in 2023 last year. But again, 7.5 sacks in only 5 starts in 2019, 9 sacks, 12.5 sacks, 8 sacks, 13 tackle for loss, 17 tackle for loss, 16 tackle for loss, 18 QB hits, 22 QB hits. I mean, double digits QB hits every friggin' season. That's not Olivia Vernon. Unless I'm completely mistaken, Olivia Vernon had like literally, I think it was like one, he was in, okay, so he didn't start at all his rookie season in 2012. He started almost every game from 2013 and 2015, and that was huge. I remember being a big fan of that. But 11.5 sacks in 2013, 6.5 in 2014, 7.5 in 2015. Jesus Christ, he had 36 QB hits in 2015. But no, you can't say that Olivier Vernon was better than Brian Burns pre-Giants. I will not accept that. I can't and I won't. So, but Azeez has got to be like the top backup offensive outside linebacker in the league, right? I mean, like maybe this is like the weight is off his shoulders now and he doesn't have to press as hard and he won't get hurt and he can be that guy on third down that can come in and get the sack and he's like a sack specialist. I don't know. The Brian Burns thing was a huge move, and Azeez Ojulari, if he doesn't get hurt, when he's healthy, he produces. It's that simple. So I don't think that's a bad pick. Round 4, we picked Ellerson Smith, an edge from Northern Ohio, Iowa that had a 5.9 grade. He played in 13 total games over 2 seasons, 0 starts. We did not select an offensive lineman in 2021, which is fucking shocking, considering we had Will Hernandez, Andrew Thomas, Nate Solder, Billy Price, and Matt Skura. Ugh. Now, granted, Billy Price was a top center in his draft. And that was I think that was part of the Kevin Zeitler trade. I think it was Price and maybe Bredesen. I could be wrong about that. Price was from the Bengals. He was a top draft pick from the Bengals. So we traded for him. And then we also, I think it was Bredesen came over as part of the Zeitler deal. Regardless, that offensive line is horrendous outside of Andrew Thomas. And I guess you could say Will Hernandez. I don't know that Will Hernandez played that awful. I think it's fair to say that he didn't live up to what his scores were, as a prospect. He had a really good rookie year, good second year. His third year, 2020, he was not great. 7 starts. He did start all 17 games in 2021, but it was like, approximate value of 5. And then, of course, he goes to the fucking Cardinals and he's playing better, of course. So, as much as we say it's on the players to execute and these prospects haven't paid off, you got to start to look at the coaching and be like, the coaching is really fucked up. Because it's like, if these guys are all getting high scores and they're coming in and they're sucking, that's a little bit on the coaches, no? We trade for Billy Price. Meanwhile, we could have had Landon Dickerson in round 2 or Creed Humphrey in round 2. Landon Dickerson goes to the Eagles, top center. Creed Humphrey goes to the fucking Chiefs, top center. At this point, Tate is gone. Like, wide receiver is still a goddamn position of need. Tate is now gone. We only have Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton. And we signed Kenny Galladay to that massive contract, expecting him to be wide receiver 1. We go out and we get Kadarius, and we select Kadarius Toney with our number 1 pick. He was the highest graded wide receiver at 6.36. His next gen stats, total score was 85, which placed him 6th among receivers in his class. His athleticism score was estimated to be 87, which would have been 4th in the class. And he lasted officially 1.25 years. Got traded to the Chiefs. Who could we have picked? Now, this is where I think a lot of people have legitimate beefs with Gettleman for this pick because, but here's the deal. What would you give up to move up to pick 10 to get DeVonta Smith? What would you give up? I mean, not knowing what you know now, but like at the time to get Jamar Chase at pick 5, to get Jalen Waddle at pick 6. Those were off the board by the time the Giants get on the clock at 20. Yeah, we would love to have any one of those 3 guys. I just don't know that they could have pulled it off, especially Gettleman. Jesus. So who else do you have? Well, there's Elijah Moore, second pick of the second round. He went to the Jets, ended up like getting dealt to the Browns. And I think he's doing okay with the Browns. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he's the highest paid receiver in the league currently as of this moment. He went in round 4 to the fucking Lions, 6.21 grade. So it's like, I don't know. Running back, you have Saquon Barkley. Yes, he's coming back from an ACL, but you still believe that he's your main guy. So you're not going to go out and draft a top running back. We did sign Devontae Booker in free agency, and he was okay. We ended up going with Gary Brightwell, round 6, 5.6 grade out of Arizona. Who else could we have had? We could have had Khalil Herbert in round 6. We could have had Chuba Hubbard in round 4. We could have had Kenneth Gainwell in round 5. All 3 of those guys, I would argue, are better than Gary Brightwell. And then we missed on Aaron Robinson, round 3. So it's like we're drafting the appropriate, most of the time we're drafting the appropriate positions outside of offensive line and wide receiver and corner. But it's just like, so then we decided to go Aaron Robinson round 3. Next gen stats were pretty good. 76 total score, 6.28 grade. I mean, he's probably, 12th, 13th amongst corners in that draft class. He started 4 games over 2 seasons, and I don't even know if he's on the team anymore. I guess he is. And then we went Rodarius Williams with round 6. He played in 8 games over 2 seasons. And that's when we signed Adoree Jackson. And yet still, although I don't know that the defense is really to blame for 2021. I think that was, we did end up losing Saquon for a bunch of games. I think Shep was hurt again. Tony missed a lot of games with injuries. So it's like, and Galladay didn't do shit. And then Daniels got hurt. So it's like, we have so many freaking injuries. Literally in 2022 NFL draft, we got Evan Neal, offensive tackle, Alabama, 7th overall. He was the highest graded tackle and the 3rd highest overall grade in the entire draft. 6.76 grade. His next gen stats total score was 96, which is elite. And that is, I don't know that there's a higher number than that I've seen amongst the draftees. Saquon, his athleticism score was 94, production score 90, total score 96, first. I mean, this is the game we play. It's fucking Russian roulette a lot of the times. Mekhi Becton, hurt all the time. Tristan Wirfs was the last of the top 4 drafted. He's the best. Nathan Peterman is graded higher than like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. It's like, what? Ugh. The draft is just fucking wacky, man. But we just have not landed on a lot of good positions of need. It's like we draft the position of need, we just haven't nailed it. And instead, we then try to make up for it in free agency, which is not a good way to win ball games. Josh Azudu in round 3, 6.18 grade. Next gen stats total score 76, which is good. 2nd highest rated friggin' guard. And he got our quarterback's neck broken. Marcus McKeithen, round 5 pick, 5.97. Should be a dependable backup. Meh. Edge, pass rush was a huge need. We ended up getting Kayvon, highest rated edge in the draft. Next gen stats 85, which is good. 2nd among defensive ends in edge. 6.72 grade. A lot of people were, myself included, were thinking, is this guy a bust towards the beginning of the year? After a kind of uneven, inconsistent rookie year, came on strong, 11.5 sacks. So it looks like, okay, that's a good pick. If Evan Neal can just get his goddamn ass in gear and head right, like where did all that talent go? Where did the athleticism go? Where did the production go? Where'd it go? Is it just because he can't play hurt? He doesn't like playing hurt? What is it? We got Micah McFadden in the 5th round. He had a 5.81 grade, which is average backup. He's our starting inside linebacker, and he did a pretty decent job last year after a kind of rocky start. A lot of people saying like, what? I can't believe Micah McFadden's our starting inside linebacker. We literally traded for Isaiah Simmons because I don't know that we had the utmost confidence in Micah. And but his next gen stats, his total score is 78, which is good. It was 10th amongst linebackers in that class. His athleticism score was estimated 87, which is 7th. So I think that is what ultimately has helped him. But, we could have gone to Kobe Dean in round 3. He went to the Eagles. We could have gone Christian Harris in round 3. He went to the Texans. We ended up going Darian Beavers in round 6. He had a 5.65 grade, but his next gen stats total score was 71. And he had a higher athleticism score, 75. We go round 4, we go Daniel Bellinger. Tight end was a position of need. He had a 6.16 grade. His next gen stats are good. 5th highest athleticism score. We could have gone Isaiah Likely or Jake Ferguson. Likely goes to the Ravens. Ferguson goes to Cowboys. Likely gets his time to shine with Mark Andrews going down. Would you rather have Likely over Bellinger? I don't think people wouldn't hate that. Wendell Robinson. A lot of people, I was not too high on selecting Wandale in round 2. 6.17 grade. Sky Moore and George Pickens were available. Would you rather have George Pickens? It seems like he's not exactly, he's like disgruntled and he's having issues in Pittsburgh, but good playmaker. And then Sky Moore with the Chiefs. I don't know that he's really done anything that crazy with the Chiefs. So, and Wandale came on strong towards the end of last year, but can he stay healthy? Cordell Flott in the 3rd round is the pick that I think a lot of people can point to and be like, why? 5.98 grade. There were 6 corners that were graded higher than him, but taken after. The big names were Marcus Jones and Kobe Bryant. I think Kobe Bryant went to Seahawks. Marcus Jones went to the Chiefs, maybe. But it's like the corners are graded higher, but they ain't been playing out. No. Round 4 was Dane Belton. There were 4 safeties graded higher than him that went later. Kyle Hamilton was unavailable. He was like the best player in that draft. Are you going to trade, give up a shit ton of picks and a player to get Kyle Hamilton, a safety? I don't think so. And we got DJ Davis at round 5. So who is decent depth. Last year's draft, we were all going creaming our jeans, going nuts over that draft. The fact that we got Jalen Hyatt, who was projected to go in the 1st round and the 3rd round. He was the highest graded receiver at 6.5. His next-gen stats total score was 85, which placed him 3rd. His athleticism score was 1st among all wide receivers in 2023. We got John Michael Schmitz towards the tail end of round 2. No one thought that was going to happen. He's the highest graded center at 6.41, and his next-gen stats are total score is 82, which places him 2nd among all centers in that class. His production score was 1st. Deontay Banks. Deontay Banks, with the 24th pick in the 1st round, we selected Deontay Banks. He was the 7th highest graded corner, 6.37. But his next-gen stats, total score was 87, which placed him 3rd amongst corners in that class. His athleticism score was estimated 99, which placed him 2nd. So that's a case where next-gen stats, I think, wins out. Can't just look at, and there were a lot of corners, I think, taken before him. But of those 3 picks, like, he's the best, Trey Hawkins in the 6th, who's he was projected to be an undrafted free agent, and he ended up being our starter for the first few games. He had a 5.6 grade, no next-gen stats. Javarius Owens was the 8th highest graded safety. He had an average next-gen stats score and, average backup grade. Eric Gray was the 7th highest graded running back, and Jordan Riley was 5.63 grade and no next-gen stats, dude. So it's like, we have not had a ton of like elite players. Evan Neal was graded as an elite prospect. This new offensive line coach, if he can unlock Evan Neal and turn him into the kind of top college prospect that he was coming out of Alabama, and can be that other bookend opposite Andrew Thomas, we're in a very good spot, because then you can have Ella Manure at right guard, running at left guard, John Michael Schmitz in year 2 at center. And it feels like it's coming together. I'd still think the line depth I'm not like crazy about. And it would be nice to add one more person into that mix, especially with Tyree Phillips. I don't know when his timeline is to come back. I don't think are you going to re-sign Justin Pugh? I think he's maybe looking for more money. So, offensive line still worries me, because if Andrew Thomas goes down, that line goes to absolute shit unless Evan Neal steps up. And Illuminor then moves to tackle. You move Evan Neal to left tackle. It's all hinges on Evan Neal, really. But that whole exercise is to show you that it's a crapshoot. It's just like, Amon-Ra St. Brown, fucking 4th round. No one thought coming out of USC that he was going to be like a top receiver. And now he's swimming in cash. There were guys that after every draft, just about, we thought, okay, these are guys that can step in and play well, and yet they just didn't across the board. All right, well, that's the episode. Thanks again. for all your loyalty and your support and your patronage. I can't tell you how much it means to me. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Friend Finder, Adult Friend Finder, MySpace, campushook.com. I don't post anything on social anymore, so you don't have to follow me, whatever. Yeah, hopefully we'll get into some talk about, well, this schedule is going to be released soon. I guess either next week or the week after. So I'll respond to the schedule. There'll be more Mets talk, but hopefully I'll get into Fallout. I finished Fallout, give my review of that. I believe X-Men 97 might be wrapped up by then, so I could give my review of that. I also watched The Beekeeper, pretty good flick with Jason Statham. I could do a review of that. And also Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Holy shit. Was that a hell of a movie? Give a review of that. But until next time, I got 2 words for you. Adios, muchachos.